Praise be to Jesus. Today we continue our third session on learning to manage the emotion of anger. Let's do a little review of what we have covered up till now. In our first session, we saw why God has given us the emotion of anger. And we looked at two specific purposes why God has given us the emotion of anger. We saw that God has given us the emotion of anger to correct something that is wrong and to get justice done. We also saw three ways all of us express our anger, or three masks of anger. And the three masks of anger were this. First, we express our anger by becoming a spewer. We saw a spewer is a one who explodes when he is angry, who erupts when he is angry. He's like a volcano, he's like a time bomb that explodes and erupts when he or she is angry. We also saw 10 questions that helped us to understand whether my style of expressing anger is that of a spewer. We also saw the second way all of us try to express our anger is by stuffing it. They are the stuffers. They stuff the anger on the inside. They don't show that they are angry. They don't express their anger. And we saw why a stuffer acts like that. We also saw 10 questions to know whether you and I are stuffer, whether that is one of the ways we express our anger. In our second session, we looked at the third way we all express our anger. And the third way we all express our anger is by becoming a leaker. A leaker is the one who keeps leaking his anger. They don't keep the anger, they don't express it at one time. They keep it showing little by little, and it can go on for days, it can go on for weeks together. Then we looked at three things to know why we get angry. Three things that show us, three top reasons that tell us why we get angry. And last time we saw we get angry because we are hurt. And what is hurt? Unmet need. We all have emotional needs, and when those emotional needs are not met, we feel hurt. Then we saw what we need to do when we are hurt. What is the one question we can ask ourselves when we are hurt? The second reason why all of us feel angry, second reason why all of us feel angry is frustration. What is frustration? Unmet expectations. When we have expectations of people, we have expectations of situations, we have expectations from God. And when our expectations are not met, we can get frustrated. We saw what we need to do when we get frustrated. Today we are going to look at third top reason why we all feel angry. And the third reason we all feel angry is because of insecurity. Insecurity. We feel insecure. What is insecurity? Insecurity is real or perceived attack. Real or perceived attack on our personal worth. We all have a need of personal worth. We all want to feel worthy, that we are worthwhile, that we mean something, that we are worth. We have a worth, we have a value. We all want to feel that. That is not the problem. The real problem is not to have the feeling of worth. The real problem is where we place our worth on. What we believe, where our worth comes from. And here are some of the places we feel our worth comes from. Our worth comes from, number one, what we do and how we do it. That is where we base our worth on. That this is what I do and this is what makes me worthy. Or sometimes our worth comes from what we have. And we feel because I have so many good things in life, I feel I am worthwhile. Or sometimes our worth comes from what people have to say about us, what people say about us. And as long as people are talking all the good things, we feel worthwhile. The moment they tend to get negative, and if we have placed our worth on what people say about us, then we are headed to become an insecure person. Psychiatrists give us a formula through which they show how people base their worth on the outside. And this is the formula they give. My performance plus the opinion of others is equal to personal worth. My performance, how well I am doing, what I am doing, plus the opinion of others. What other people have to say, and how other people, if they are singing, if there are other people looking at me, they are singing, how great thou art. That is equal to personal worth. And it's a wrong formula. When we base our worth on what people have to say about us, when we base our worth on what we do, we are headed for hurt, frustration, and insecurity. So, anger often is an evidence that we are all feeling insecure. That's what Proverbs chapter 15 verse 1 tells us. Anger is a sign I may be feeling a bit insecure. I may be feeling threatened, or I may be feeling that my worth is threatened here. My worth is under attack. That's why I may feel insecure. One of the biblical examples of anger coming from a person who's feeling insecure is Saul. We see this story in 1 Samuel chapter 18, that after David had killed Goliath, and Saul was very happy that Goliath was killed, but then the insecurity started. The women of the city came out and they started singing a song. I do not know the tune of the song, but the words of the song went something like this: Saul has killed thousands, David has killed 10,000s. And as Saul heard this song, he felt very insecure. He felt that David was praised more than him. We see Saul was basing his worth on what people have to say about him. And he started feeling insecure, and that insecurity started turning into the emotion of anger. We find that every time Saul will see David, he's angry. And then we see for the next almost 13 years, Saul is after David's life. He's so angry with David. David had done no wrong, but it was Saul's insecurity. That because of his insecurity, anger took over him, and Saul is after David's life. And he makes David's life difficult. One of the top reasons why we all feel angry sometimes is because we have started growing in our insecurity. And why we have started growing in our insecurity? Because as that formula I gave you, because for me, my worth comes from this. My worth comes from my performance plus the opinion of other people. It's equal to personal worth. My performance, how well I'm doing, how well I gave a teaching, how well I led the praise and worship, plus the opinion of others. How many people told me how great thou art. When both of these things combine, for me, it's my personal worth. My worth comes from that. It's good, but it's dangerous to base our worth on our performance and the opinion of other people. So what do I need to do when I feel insecure? I showed you what you need to do when you get hurt. Then we looked at what we need to do when we get frustrated. Let's have a look at what you and I need to do when we feel insecure. And these are some of the questions we can ask ourselves when we are feeling insecure. These are the following questions we must ask. Why? The first question, why am I feeling threatened? In this situation, I'm feeling insecure. Why? Why in the world am I feeling threatened? Is someone performing more better than me? Is someone getting more praises than me and I'm feeling threatened by it? What's been attacked? If I'm feeling threatened, there is an attack. What is attacked? And sometimes we may say, oh, I was getting praise from people. Now someone else has done a better job and that person is going to get the praise. That means the praise that I was getting, that has been attacked. So what's been attacked? Third, is the threat small or big? Is it a big threat? Sometimes we react in such a way that it was a big threat. Is the threat big or is the threat small? The fourth question we can ask, whose approval am I seeking? And sometimes insecurity comes because we are seeking approval from people. Whose approval I am seeking? If we ask these questions to ourselves, we will be able to deal with the emotion of insecurity. Let's look at the next step, the next question: how we deal with our emotion of anger. And here we are going to look at 4 steps we can take when we feel angry. 4 steps we can take which will help us to know how to deal with the anger. 4 steps that will help us to know what do I need to do when I am angry. Or these 4 steps also teach us how to make anger our best friend, not our worst enemy. And for us to be a little easy to understand these 4 steps, I am using 4 alphabets: A, B, C, D. We will need to do A, B, C, D when we feel angry. So let's have a look at each and every one of them. And after we look at these 4 steps, then we will have a look at, and we will end up by looking at the practical things you and I can do in going about expressing our anger. So let's look at these 4 steps which will help us to know how to deal with this anger. The first step is the word A. Acknowledge or admit that you are angry. This is the first step that will help us to deal with the emotion of anger. That we need to acknowledge, we need to admit that we are angry. There is no need for us to stuff our anger. There is no need for us to hide our anger and act as if we are not angry. Many of us have a wrong conception that feeling angry is itself a sin. Feeling angry is not a sin. In fact, the scriptures tell us in Ephesians chapter, Paul's letter to the Ephesians chapter 4 verse 26, Paul says, "Be angry, but do not sin." Paul is telling us our feelings are valid. There is a validation for our feelings. Feeling angry is okay. So that's the first step we can do. Take. Admit or acknowledge that we are angry. And this is the most difficult step to take because of all the wrong misconceptions we have about the emotion of anger. The second step, the word B. The word B stands as backtrack. Backtrack your anger to the primary emotion. I'll explain to you what this means. Backtrack your anger to the primary emotion. What does the second step means? In our second session, we saw that anger is not the main emotion. That anger is the secondary emotion. It's a secondary emotion. Actually, the problem is something else. Something else is happening in our lives at this particular moment. Something else we are experiencing at that particular moment. We may be experiencing hurt, we may be experiencing frustration or insecurity, but we don't like to admit that we are feeling all these things, and we don't like to deal with them. We sometimes have no clue, no idea what to do with our hurt, what to do with our frustration, and what to do with our insecurity. That is the primary emotion. Anger is the secondary emotion. Why we are not able to deal with the primary emotion of hurt, frustration, and insecurity. And because we are not able to deal with these emotions, we tend to use anger as a scapegoat. So we need to backtrack our anger to the primary emotion. We can ask ourselves, why? What is that emotion? What is really happening within me? What emotions am I experiencing because of which I am feeling anger? Or what other emotions I am experiencing because of which I am feeling anger? Then we go to the third step. The third step, C, stands for consider the cause. Now here we start practically dealing with the anger. Consider what is the real cause of our anger. Now what do we do here? Remember I said anger is a secondary emotion. So what's the primary emotion? The primary emotion can be hurt. The primary emotion can be frustration. The primary emotion can be insecurity. So here we ask, why am I feeling angry? Am I feeling angry because I am hurt? And if I am hurt, what needs? Now here is where we tend to understand ourselves. What are my emotional needs that were not met in this situation? Am I angry because I'm hurt? Am I angry because I'm frustrated? Frustration comes from unmet expectations. So what are my unmet expectations I have in this situation from this person that are not getting met? Do I have any unmet expectations because of which I am feeling so much frustrated? Or am I feeling insecure? Am I feeling threatened? Am I feeling that my personal worth is attacked? And we can ask those 4 questions which I gave. What do we need to do when we feel threatened, when we feel insecure? So consider the real cause, and this is where we hit the nail on the head. Why really I'm angry? What is the real reason for my anger? And then we decide to deal with that reason. If it is a hurt, we decide to learn what to do with our hurt and how to deal with our hurt. If it is frustration, we need to adjust our expectations. And if it is insecurity, we need to check, am I basing my security on performance plus opinion of other people is equal to personal worth? So we need to consider the cause. Am I angry because I am hurt, because I am frustrated, or because I am insecure? Now if you say I am angry because I am hurt, we go to the 4th word, the word D. Now it doesn't mean once we find the real cause why we are angry, our anger goes. It doesn't go. The intensity of anger may decrease as we understand the real reason, but the hurt can still be there. The frustration can still be there, or the insecurity can still be there. So we go to the 4th step, the word D. Deal, determine or decide what is the best way to deal with this situation. Decide or determine. We need to decide or we need to determine what is the best way. What is the best way I can deal with this situation? And this is where we go to the next part now of learning how, the practical way of learning to express anger. What is the best way I can go about so that I am able to express my anger in a very healthy manner? So how we deal with anger? The word D stands for learning, determining. What is the best way to express my anger? What is the best way to deal with this situation? What is the best way to deal with my anger? So what can be the best way? Let's have a look at the practical process now, how we need to go about expressing our anger. And this is where we will look at some of the steps, how we go about expressing anger, how to deal with our anger. The first step, we need to ask ourselves, with whom am I angry? With whom am I angry? Am I angry with myself? Am I angry with God? Am I angry with some situation in my life? Okay? Or am I angry with someone else? So the first question we need to ask ourselves is, with whom am I angry? The second question, what should I do? Now since I'm angry, what should I be doing? And here are some of the ways we can deal with anger. Should I express my anger? What should I do with my anger? Should I express it directly or should I express it indirectly? Should I confront or should I conceal? That means conceal means for the time being, now I keep quiet. Now is not the time to express my anger. I will wait for the right time to express my anger. So the second question we need to ask ourselves is, what do I need to do? How do I deal with my anger? What do I need to do? Third, how do I deal with the situation? How do I deal with the situation? Means if there is a situation that has taken place in which a person may have said or done things that may have hurt me, that may have frustrated me. So how do I deal with that situation? Should I deal it directly with that person? Directly? I should meet the person, and talk to the person directly, or should I speak over the phone? Maybe I need to fix an appointment with the person and say, I've got something to speak to you. What is the right time to talk to you? Or should I speak on the phone or through a letter? Maybe the best way can be that I write a mail, I write a letter expressing my anger, expressing my hurt. So what is the best way? How do I deal with that situation? That is the third question we ask. So let me repeat the questions again, the practical steps we need to do. First step, with whom am I angry? Am I angry with myself, God, situation, or some other person? The second step, what should I do? What should I do with my anger? Should I express it directly, indirectly? Should I confront or should I conceal my anger? Should I, right now is not the time to express my anger. It's not the right time to express the anger, but I need to express it, so I will need to find out the right opportunity, the right time which I can get to express my anger. The third, how do I deal with the situation? Should I talk to the person to the concerned person in person? Should I talk, or should I talk to the person on the phone, or should I write a mail expressing my hurt, expressing my anger to the person? Now here, let's have a look at some of the unhealthy ways we can go about in this process. The unhealthy ways, get it all out. Don't keep anything inside. As we look at these three questions, one of the unhealthy way we can express is get it all out. Don't keep inside. Don't keep quiet. Say it. Speak it. Speak it out. Or explode. We can start exploding, or we can erupt, or we can yell, we can scream, and we can talk such things to belittle another person. Or there are healthy ways we can go about in this process. In these three questions, we can go about a healthy manner to express my anger. I can express it, I can communicate it in person, in phone, or in a letter. I can express my anger in a healthy way. So I will need to choose by asking these three questions. The fourth question, when should I deal with it? Now this is a very important question. When? When should I talk to the person? When should I deal? Maybe right now is not the time, so when should I talk to him? Here I'd like to give a personal example. I also share this when I give a teaching on handling conflicts, and where I share there that sometimes we need to discern what is the right time to say that. What is the right time? Finding out the right time to speak, to express your anger. And sometimes when you say the right thing at the wrong time, the result may be wrong. Some days back, or I will say not days back, but many years back, there was a situation, a conflict that took place between me and one of my friends at a prayer meeting. And we both were hurt by what we said to each other. So the next morning, after the prayer meeting, we went back home. Next morning, when I sat for my personal prayer, I felt convicted in my heart that I need to reconcile with this brother. I went through the forgiveness process, and after forgiving the brother, I decided to call him up and talk to him. And so I picked up my phone, dialed his number, and I called him up. And I started talking to him, and I started saying to him, sorry for what I have done. And I started asking his forgiveness. He said, that's fine. Then I was waiting for him to tell me, that he is also sorry, but he was not saying that. So I started telling him, you said such things and I was also hurt and I felt very bad. After hearing me, he just told me, get lost. Get lost. I felt more hurt. After that, I decided not to talk to this brother. But then after a few days, this brother got back to me. He says, I'm sorry for what I told you that day. I'm sorry for saying, get lost to you. I shouldn't have said that. But let me tell you what happened on that day. That day when you called me up to talk about that situation, called me up to ask forgiveness, I was having a fight with my wife at home. At that time, a fight was happening in our home, and you called. And you started expressing that anger. You started expressing your hurt, and you started asking for forgiveness, confessing what wrong you have done and asking for forgiveness. And after that, you started telling me all the times where I had gone wrong. Before that, my wife was telling me that, now you told me that. So I really lost my cool and I told you get lost. this is what can happen to us. It's very important to discern when, after that incident, if I'm talking to someone on the phone and reconciling with someone on the phone, or talking about my hurt, my pain on the phone, trying to make the brother sister aware, I still practice one thing. When I call them, I will say to them, I need to talk to you. Is this the right time to talk to you? Is this the right time to talk to you? We don't know what is happening on the other side. So when should I deal with it? Let's turn to the scriptures. James chapter 1 verse 19 to 20. James chapter 1 verse 19 to 20. And this is what James says. My dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. So slow to speak, slow to become angry. For a man's anger does not bring about the righteous life that God desires. So here James gives us a 3-step process how we can go about dealing with anger. The first step, he says, is be quick to hear. Be quick to hear. One of the temptations all of us go through when we are angry is we start talking. We are quick to speak. We are quick to speak, and sometimes we can be speaking in tongues, strange tongues. The problem is our families and the people to whom we are speaking in strange tongues have the gift of interpretation, and they can understand what we are saying and they can faint and fall. One of the best thing, one of the right thing that the scripture tells us to do when we are angry is be quick to hear. Hear the other person. Be a receptive listener. Be a receptive listener, not a reactive responder. Be a receptive listener, not a reactive responder. Learn to listen what another person is saying. Or sometimes learn to listen to your anger and ask yourself, what is this anger telling me? So that's what the first thing James tells us. Be quick to hear. Then he goes on to say, slow to speak. Slow to speak. What is James saying? James is saying, think. Let's think before you talk. When we become angry, one of the things we don't do is we don't like to think. We just like to express. We just want to tell another person, I'm angry. I don't want to think. But James tells us, be slow to speak. What he's saying is, think before you talk. Think what you want to speak. Think what you are not going to speak. So the third thing we need to do, James tells us, is be slow to anger. Be slow to anger. It simply means do not get easily provoked. Okay? Ecclesiasticus chapter 7 verse 9 tells us, do not get easily provoked. Try to understand, why are you getting angrier? Because you are hurt, because you are frustrated, because you are insecure. So this is what James tells us. Be slow to speak. Okay? Be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. So one place we have to be quick. And what is the place we have to be quick? Hear the other person. Where we have to be slow? To talk. Because we are angry, we can talk in strange tongues. Okay? So be slow to speak, slow to anger. Start understanding yourself. Am I angry because I am hurt, because I am frustrated, because I am insecure? So this is what the scripture tells us to do when we are angry. As we wind up, I would like to give you 4 things that we can do. 4 things to remember. 4 remembers. Okay? 4 things we need to remember to deal with anger. And with this we wind up our teaching on dealing with anger. So the first, remember, anger is a choice. Don't blame anyone. Don't blame situation. We choose to be angry. We have other options also. We have other options like I can be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. That option is there. But I have not chosen that option. I have chosen to be angry. So first thing, remember, anger is a choice. Second, remember, anger is a secondary emotion. It is not the main problem. The main problem is either hurt, frustration, or insecurity. Anger is a secondary emotion. Always remember that. There is some other problem. Actually, the problem is something else, and I'm afraid to deal with that problem. So, anger is a secondary emotion. Third, anger is not wrong, or feeling angry is not wrong. Remember, anger is not wrong, or feeling anger is not wrong. It's what we choose to do with anger. So remember, feeling angry is not wrong, but what we choose to do with anger. And lastly, remember the ABCD of anger. What is the ABCD of anger? A. Acknowledge and admit your anger. B. Backtrack your anger to the primary emotion. C. Consider the real cause. And we have seen that what it means. And D. Determine what is the best way to deal with anger. With this, we come to a conclusion on this series of anger. I hope so this series has helped you, has equipped you not to feel angry. It's not that after hearing this you won't feel angry, but it has equipped you to learn with your emotion of anger wisely. May God give us the grace and the wisdom each and every one of us need to learn to deal with the anger in a healthy manner. God bless you all.
I'm Saint Lawrence. If you want to grow spiritually and know more about Jesus and his teachings, please subscribe to the channel.
I'm Saint Bonaventure, and if you enjoyed and learned something new, then please press the like button.
I'm Saint Philomena, and I want you to please share this video with your family, friends, and all your WhatsApp groups.
I am St. Thomas of Villanova, and I want you all to comment a word or a scripture touch you the most watching this video.
Hi friends, I am Saint Monica, and today I want to encourage you all to press the bell icon mentioned here below in order to get notified about every new spiritual content on this channel.
Stay safe,
Stay blessed, stay connected.